Today I'm going to talk about the effect our farmers have on our nation. My goal is to inform everyone about a few things that go into farming. These things don't go fully in depth, they just barely crack the surface. I am sure at some point we have all wondered how we are provided our produce and meat into our grocery stores, ready to be taken home to make dinner just right at our fingertips. I will be bringing all of this information to you today from strenuous research and my own learning from personal experience. So today I will cover the effect our farmers have on our nation. There are 3 points that I will talk about. We will first talk about the preparation and the harvesting of crops. We will also talk about the process of caring for, raising, and butchering the animals. Lastly, we will talk about the specific packaging and transportation of the produce and meat. So let's begin with the process of harvesting the crops. Farmers put so much time and effort that nobody knows or even notices into the produce that they put into our grocery stores. It is, after all, how they make their living. First, they have to prep the soil. They have to know exactly what nutrients the soil already has or what it will need to ensure healthy crops. No two fields are the same, so this means in each field they will have to test the seed's potential first to see if it will even produce correctly. One field could have too much of a certain nutrient, while another doesn't have enough. Farmers have to care for the crops very closely to be sure that their crops will have a good turnout. First, there is something called irrigation. Irrigation is the process of watering the crops. This is much more specific than it sounds. The crops each need to get an exact amount of water each day. For different crops, the amount of water they need will vary. Next is the impact weather can have on the crops. Farmers have to know exactly how to adapt or protect their crops due to different weather conditions during crop season. Now that we have talked about the preparation and harvesting of crops, we will talk about the beginning of how we get our meat into our grocery stores. Farmers have to take time caring for the animals. It is important to keep their health at par in order to have good meat. This also includes worming and medicating the animals, and also spending the time preparing and butchering the animals. First, the farmers have to raise the animals. Many farmers go about raising the animals differently. Some animals are let out to graze on a green pasture, while others are stuck in an overcrowded feedlot. A feedlot is where animals that are going to be butchered are kept. The farmers also have to regulate what the animals eat and keep them on a specific strict diet. The farmers have to care for and raise the animals until they are at the age and size to be butchered. The butchering part is sad, but is a part of the process of how we get our meat into our stores. Many of the animals are stunned before they are butchered. They are either stunned with carbon dioxide or an electric current. This makes the process easier for the animal to go through. Now that we have talked about the harvesting of crops and how we get our meat, including caring for the animals, let's now talk about how our produce and meat get put into our grocery stores. I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has wondered how exactly our meat and produce get into our grocery stores. First, our produce is packed differently than our meat in order to be sure we receive fresh produce. You have probably all seen the big silos on the side of the road in a rural town. These are used to store some of the crops. When the crops are ready to be sent to the stores, farmers have the crops cleaned, sorted, and packed specifically on pallets and in boxes to keep the produce safe from bruising or being damaged. After it is packed, it is taken to stores across the U.S. in big transportation trucks. These are all of the big semi-trucks we see transporting various goods. Meat is also packaged differently than produce to ensure good unspoiled meat into our stores. So after the hide is removed or feathers are plucked from the meat, it is cut and quartered. The meat is then graded on size, muscle mass, and fat. This will determine the price along with the weight. After being graded, it is then packaged and vacuum sealed and then loaded into big transportation trucks and taken to our grocery stores. The trucks that our meat is kept in have to be maintained at a certain temperature to ensure safe meat going into our stores. Today we have covered the effects farmers have on our nation. We talked about 3 main points. The first being the preparation and the harvesting of our crops. Second, we talked about the process of caring for, raising, and butchering the animals. And lastly, we talked about the specific packaging and transportation of the produce and meat into our stores. So next time you go into the grocery store to buy produce or meat, remember all of the hard work farmers did to get those things into our stores for us to enjoy. These things wouldn't be at our fingertips without their hard work.